بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. I want Muslim kids across the world to become millionaires and billionaires and to become the next CEOs and the next inventors and the next playwrights and the next leaders who change the world. In fact, we need this right now for our Muslim community. Um, when we look around at the world and the toil that Muslims are going through, we recognize the value of experience and the value of knowledge. Now, to be clear, when I say we need Muslims to become millionaires and billionaires, the point isn't to become millionaires and billionaires. That way we have Ferraris and big houses and things like that. The point is when we do have wealth as a community, when we do have capability as a community, we can change the world. Not lost on us is October 7th, when all of the Muslim world together was unable to get a bottle of water into Gaza. How do we make sure that as a Muslim community, we never find ourselves in that situation again? How do we make sure that as a Muslim community, we build? Well, it starts with our kids and then our youth and then our high schoolers and then our college students. The mind of a child is where change begins. And that for me is why I care so deeply about the conversation that we're going to have today. And that's why I care so deeply about Brother Hamzah Henshaw. With Noor Kids, many of you may have heard of it. If you're joining from Five Before College, you may have not. Noor Kids is an organization we started 12 years ago because we believe that, between the time a child is 5 to 9 years old, that's when the roots are being planted for our kids' life, and it hopefully will bear good fruit as our kids get older. Well, what about when our kids are literally in middle school or when they're literally in high school and are now preparing for that next step to go to a school like Berkeley or Harvard, like, Brother Hamza went to Harvard, or whatever school they go to, but making sure that our kids are set up for success for the rest of their lives. 2 years ago, I met Brother Hamzah Henshaw. And I'll be honest, when I first met Brother Hamzah Henshaw, I wasn't sure what to expect, okay? When I met him, he told me that he helped young Muslims get into their dream schools and that he had been doing it for 20 years. Now, I'll be honest, I went to Berkeley. My older brother went to Harvard. So we literally lived through this experience of going to these schools. And Brother Hamza was like, there's smarter ways to do it. And I was like, smarter ways to do it? What are you talking about? Like, pulling all-nighters, getting 4.0s, like trying to do the best on your school, like just basically stressing out. That's the only way I knew how. But as I got to know Hamza, as he shared with me his knowledge, and as I deepened my relationship with him, in fact, we met in Qatar just a few months ago. And as we literally even talk on the phone every few months to catch up, I have come to the conclusion that the work that Brother Hamza is doing is perhaps some of the most important work within our Muslim community literally right now, because he is helping young Muslims, inshallah, set themselves up for success with college and the rest of their lives. And he's had a track record of doing it. He's done it for 20 years now. He's helped hundreds of young Muslims place themselves in success for that next step, starting out as a counselor at a full-time Islamic school, and then unlocking this beautiful, remarkable project that is now a full-blown behemoth that is Five Before College. And so for my audience, the Noor Kids audience who are joining me today, I'm very excited to, inshallah, tap into Brother Hamza's expertise to get very practical as best as possible to make the most out of your time, inshallah, who's watching. And then just to set some expectations, I'm going to be chatting with Hamza for about 40 minutes. I've got some questions for him. Many of those questions are based off of things you wrote when you signed up for this. So that way we can actually like drive the conversation based off of what you're literally interested in. Then we're going to have about 30 minutes of Q&A. So whatever questions you have, we'll be able to pose them to Hamza and talk to him. So in total, we've got about 90 minutes. All right. So if you
Yep.
need, a cup of chai or coffee, get it. I know I just monologued for a minute, brother Hamza. Please add what you see fit, and then inshallah we'll dive right in.
Yeah, so I wanna dive right in. So in a moment I'm gonna share something called Menti, which is a little quiz thing that we'll do to get to learn more about the audience and everyone who's here and what's going on in your lives. And then, like Brother Amin said, we'll have about a 40-minute of conversation. Then I'm going to tell you about some exciting things here at 5 Before College. We have an amazing summer planned. We have our Find Your Qibla. It's always our largest cohort of the summer. We have Find Your Qibla Live, which is a 3-day amazing event in Boston that we're about to be announcing. It's like the most exciting thing in my life right now. And then we have something called the College Essay Boot Camp. And I know a lot of you guys have much younger kids, but if you have any juniors, rising seniors, this is an amazing event where or experience where we help kids write their college essays. So I want to after our conversation, I'll have a chance to talk about some of those things, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So we really hope you stick around. In terms of the Q&A, other things, we have the chat which is popping with all sorts of stuff right now. But then there's also a Q&A function. Okay, so that's a separate one. So if you have questions that you'd like potentially Brother Amin and myself to answer, then please type those in the Q&A. If you put them in the chat, they'll get lost. And yeah, and then the reactions are great. So earlier when Brother Amin was making some of his trademark jokes, then we saw some laughing emojis come up, and so like one hard thing about speaking without seeing all of you is we don't know what's going on in your heart. So if something resonates, let us know. And the emojis that float up are the way to do it. Let's practice right now. Let's
Well,
get some let's
I
get some
don't
emojis going.
know.
Okay, there they
Hamza,
come. There they come. Look at
when
that.
you said Amin's trademark jokes and you put that in, like these
Air
little
quotes.
like why did you put those in air? Like I was trying to figure out like I like I mean, what is that? What are you trying to say here? Like they're not jokes or what?
Well, they're okay. So they're jokes, but sometimes the humor is the thing that's lacking.
Okay,
Um,
the humor is the thing that's lacking.
yeah,
All right,
no,
very good.
your your jokes are great. Okay, so this is called Mentimeter. This is really really cool. I think you'll enjoy it. If you've never done this before, I think you're gonna have a great time. We don't want to take too long on this, so what you need to do is go to menti.com or click the participation link, which I'm about to put in the chat. Um, to everyone. So, three ways to get in. Go to menti.com and type that number 62383718. Scan it on your QR code if you're on a phone or something like that, or
Hey,
just click on the link I just put in the chat. And Khadija can keep on putting it in. By the way, one of my team is here, Khadija Mohammed. You should see her in the chat if she's speaking. She's speaking on behalf of Five Before College, and she should be able to help you out here. Are you doing it too, brother? I mean,
I am. I will say that there are some folks on our WhatsApp who said that the link to the college webinar redirects to a launch good page. So I'm going to share that with Brother Amar on your team, and
okay,
maybe there is something there that could potentially be fixed.
okay.
Okay, so I'm
Um,
going to share that with Brother Amar right now. So I don't know if there's something there. Okay, but anyways, yeah. So please let's get started with this Mentimeter.
yep. Okay. So let's see how many people are in. We have 114 people in. Let's give. Let's see how many people do we have in the Zoom so far. We have 263. So maybe there's. I know some people might be driving. There are reasons not to come in, but if you want to come in, you can continue to come in even after we start. But if you are not yet in Menti, then try to get there. We're about to start. Inshallah. All right, let's
Let me
let's
try
do it.
this.
Bismillah. So First question is, where are you tuning in from? Where are you tuning in from? So click anywhere on the map. If you are from international, if you're in Canada, you can sort of find Canada on the map. But if you're from way overseas, click on Alaska. I don't think we have anyone from Alaska here. Alaska's that big thing on the bottom left. So click on Alaska if you are international,
Oh,
and
dude, this is so cool.
we're going to reveal in three, two, one. Didn't work. Why is there we go. Okay. This is what we
Whoa.
expected. So Texas is in the house, okay? The single biggest city out there was Houston. So if you're from Houston, mashallah, you win. And California, Massachusetts were highly represented. But it looks like in terms of live attendance, the DMV is there. And I'm going to be spending half my life in the DMV. I'm going to be down in the DMV in Baltimore for 8 or 9 days coming up, including at ICNA, where we have a table. Are you going to be at ICNA, brother? I mean,
I'm not. No.
oh man, man,
Nope.
that's
Nope.
sad. Okay, next one. So very cool. We have the coasts well represented, but we
Dude,
even have people.
Alaska. Do you think that's true? You
No,
think
no,
they've
no. I
11?
told the international people to go to Alaska.
Oh,
So,
okay,
so
got it.
those are
I was
all
like,
international
whoa, that's
folks.
wild, you know?
All right,
So
Bismillah.
cool. Okay.
All right, here we go. Where is your family originally from? Okay, now hopefully this covers most of us. I recognize if you're from South America or somewhere, you might not be feeling it. But if you if you're from one of these places, like originally ethnically, like mine would be somewhere between England, Ireland, Scotland, because my family came over on the Mayflower, and I think the boat left
Look at
from
you trying
that
to
general
flex,
part of the
dude.
world. All right,
Look at you
let's
trying to
see it.
flex, dude.
Show responses.
Did you actually
Ooh,
come on the Mayflower?
well,
Actually?
not myself, but you know. So
Like
look at
your
this,
fam
brother. I mean, we have a huge group from the subcontinent, our Desi brethren, the Biryani Bros, 38 and 17 from Pakistan and India. But then we've got a pretty good smattering across the Muslim world. We got someone from Australia. I hope that's my student Zakaria, who's in Find Your Qibla now. He's from Mariba, Australia, which is this tiny town where they grow coffee. There's an amazing YouTube documentary about his family. It's so so cool. But look at this. Across Africa, we got Nigeria. Mashallah. So so cool. Even Russia, Greenland. Okay, I don't know. I don't know about that. Trump's coming for you. All right. Um so what are the ages of your children? Select all that apply. So if you have an elementary, middle, and high schooler, you can, this is a multi-select. Most people have already answered, so I'm gonna just go in and show the responses. Look at that, brother. I mean, look at your audience. This is honestly, we were doing analysis of the registrations. When I last checked, we had 998 registrations, which means we certainly almost definitely have over 1,000 registrations. So you have
Wow.
officially beaten our previous most popular webinar, which was how to pay for college, 7 ways to reduce the cost of college regardless of your income. So, brother, I mean,
Wow.
you are more popular than saving money.
Dude, relax,
Yeah.
man. I'm not
But yeah,
I'll be
so
honest. I'll be honest. I probably would have been in that webinar because I'm very
yeah.
interested in saving money, dude. I'm not gonna lie
Uh,
to you.
so now we have a word cloud. These are always interesting. So what is your biggest hope for your child? So you guys have been typing away. We've had about 100 responses to this. As soon as I click show responses, what it's going to do is the words which come up more than once are going to be bigger than the other words. So let's see.
I wrote two of them, but I doubt that mine are gonna be on there.
All right. So we have happiness, success, successful, Jannah. Emotional intelligence, that's a popular one. Success in dunya, ihsan, iman, Muslim, mashallah, and so many other ones in the outside. So hopefully, yeah, we can try to like take a picture of the final results here or something and share it. So much cool data gets into these things. It's like such a privilege. But I don't know. What's your take on this, brother? I mean, what do you see from biggest hopes?
I think look, there's two things I think about. Obviously, the biggest word is success.
Hmm.
Um, Double click on that. What does success actually mean? Right? So when we think about living a successful life, what does that actually mean for our kids? What does that mean for ourselves? I think defining that is really valuable.
100%. All right. Next one. One or two words. What's your biggest concern about your child's future? Any predictions, brother? I mean, or maybe you could share what you wrote.
I'm worried that if I say what I say right now,
It's going to
people.
impact people. Okay.
So my biggest concerns, to be transparent with you, and a question that I'm hoping that we do talk about as well is change and specifically technology.
Mm,
Um, you know, AI has changed a lot of the way that we are working today, without a doubt. And as my children are young, 8, 5, and 2, as you think about preparing them to be successful, defined by being the best version of themselves, to inshallah achieve paradise, and also to hopefully leave their thumbprint on the world and their legacy in a good way. Um, you wonder as a parent, um, how should I be training them for a world that is changing so rapidly?
mm. Great question. And definitely let's dig into that when we get there. Here's our responses. Look at that. AI. You nailed it. AI. Wow. That's really fascinating. And I don't think
Is
it
it
would have been
you've done this for a
it,
while? Has this changed over the years?
I don't always ask I try to always ask different questions. So last time it was biggest concern about paying for college. And then things like interest and stuff came up. So but yeah, this is
Failure,
fascinating. So peer
failure.
pressure.
I like talking about failure. That one
Hmm.
I feel like more qualified to talk about
Hmm.
failure. I think identity and distractions and peer
Hmm.
pressure. See, these are all areas where I feel like, okay, I've got some knowledge, right? We've got some really good experience to sort of hearken on and leverage. AI one, I think is the one for me that is the most sort of like new.
Yeah. No, 100%. And yeah, let's definitely dig into it. I am uh AI has become a huge part of my workflow. We just went through a hiring process for an executive admin and I found the best one in the world from Egypt, mashallah. She is a wizard with AI and like that's really it's so I'm now spending a lot of money on Claude for my whole team to have an account, and it's incredible. But at the same time, I'm so glad that I got my education before this stuff existed, because it
Allah
is
Akbar.
so easy for it to trip kids up. I always say that AI can either it's going to amplify whoever you are. If you are inherently lazy and want to take the shortcut, AI will gives you it will throw kerosene on that. But if you are inherently curious and want to know more about the world, then AI throws kerosene on that. So it just takes whatever wherever you are and it just raises it to the nth degree. But we can talk more about that. Okay, here we go. What's your biggest concern for your child right now? Okay, this one showed up immediately. So their Islamic identity, closely followed by time management and focus, then motivation and discipline. Yep. And the few people, honestly, things are going well, and some college readiness, right? And this is, I would say, those first three are the things that we see. In fact, even though we have college in our name, by far the stuff that really lights me up is talking about kids and their Islamic identity and how they can use that as an admission superpower. Right. Our whole idea is not that it's all about like elite strategies to get into schools. Yeah, we know that stuff, but those are tactics. We're talking about first principles here. The first principle is that we need to have tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to know who is in charge of everything. And if we can connect our kids vertically with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then who cares where they go to college? But the reality is the better they are as Muslims, the more centered they are, the more they recognize the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the power of dua, the more their dunya will sort of come to their feet, inshallah. So really interesting. I think we only have one or two more. How confident are you that you know what to do right now to set your child up for both faith and college success. Okay, so this slide's sort of cool because not only does it give us the average, but it also gives us, there are people at the oh, I thought oh no. Yeah, confidence level. So no plan at all. We have some people over there. We have some people at the very confident, but most of us are clustering around this middle, the murky middle. Alhamdulillah. And this is I think this may be the last question. Which of these have you actually done with your child? Let's see. This was a multiple response, so let's see what happened. Okay. Interesting. All right. So most people have talked about college, or not most, but 25%. 34% pray together as a family. That's really gratifying and probably a testament to the type of audience that we have here, because I don't think that's true across the Muslim community. Um, about 20% have read great books out loud or listened to audiobooks in the car together. One of the biggest pieces of advice I give to all families is reading. As you can see, this is also not AI. These are real books over here. And books are what built me and built, humanity into what it is. But reading books sometimes is hard. Audiobooks as a family on road trips are amazing. Okay, help them start a passion project or or initiative. Okay, we can talk more about what that looks like. But then gone on an official tour, and now you guys are young. This audience does skew younger. One big piece of advice I give you, don't start college tours when your kid is a senior. Or don't do what most Muslim families do, which is never visit a college and decide where your kid's going to spend 4 years of their life without ever having set foot on that campus. It's crazy. People spend more time researching what headphones to wear than they do where their kid is going to go to college, potentially find their spouse, do all sorts of things. It's like crazy to me. So, in any case, I think that's it. Or is there one more? Yeah. Okay, this is the last one. Complete the sentence. By the time my child graduates high school, I want them to be known for. Okay, I'm gonna press the space bar to aggregate these. Speaking of AI.
Man, it's really sorting that, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
It's taking a lot of
it is
time. There's
taking it
some
is taking some
serious brain
time.
power.
Um, yo, we have a webinar to get to, mentee people. Okay, here we go. So, want them to know for their personal character, for their religious identity, for their kindness and empathy, for their career success, academic achievement, community service, resilience and motivation, leadership, and then the IDIC category.
Wow, that's such a beautiful question. Let's see what the top is what again?
By the time my
Personal
child
character.
graduates high school, I want them to be known for fill in the blank.
So I think this is actually a really good segue. You know, Brother Hamza, I think oftentimes when people think about um college, okay, and even this idea of success. So literally 3 minutes ago, you asked parents, what do you want for your child? The number one thing that people said on their own was success. And then when we said, hey, what do we want kids to be known for? They said their personal character.
Mm.
When we say success, does deen, meaning like be a good Muslim, and dunya, meaning have a great job, earn a lot of money, have a title, are those like on opposite sides of the spectrum? Or is it possible to have both?
Oh, sorry, was that a question?
Yeah, it was a question.
Sorry.
I was like,
I
maybe he's
was
asking
prepping for
AI for
something.
the answer.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Amin's going on a riff here.
No, I'm not.
Uh,
I'm asking you a
you're
question, dude. So Deen
lobbing
versus
up a
Dunya.
softball for me, and I'm just like asleep at the wheel. Okay.
Yeah, dude. So
Sorry.
Deen versus Dunya, like, is it a false choice? Like, how should we be thinking about Deen versus Dunya?
Yeah, great question. I think. I have a friend named Maruf Yusuf who's writing a book called Deen Dunya Dilemma. And I think this is one of the central tensions. It's my whole life, to be honest. Right? When I became Muslim when I was 15 years old, and I didn't know very much about Islam. I went to a boarding school outside of Boston. And then Hamza, I was fortunate to go on to Harvard. And obviously that opens up all sorts of opportunities. And when I was graduating from Harvard, and all the big companies were there. McKinsey was there, and all the Wall Street firms and everything. They were poaching us right and left. I was packing my bags to go for 4 months, fi sabilillah, with the Tablighi Jamaat in India and Pakistan.
MashaAllah.
And I know people might have differing opinions about different groups and things like that. All I can say is that experience and that group in general helped me discover Islam, and in the beginning, and helped really instill the pilot light of Islam. And it's for every group has its issues, but in any case, um that experience and just the push and pull of Deen and Dunya has defined my entire life. And I was always trying to find that balance. And I think when I was younger, I had sort of a slightly immature take on it, where it's like dunya is bad. If you have money is so corrupting. If you go off towards follow your dunyawi pursuits, then it's going to take you away from Deen. Now I've come to the belief that our children, most of this audience are American or Canadian, North American. We have insane amounts of privilege for our kids. There is so much that our kids can be doing. And we almost have a duty as American Muslims to be as successful as we possibly can. Right. We don't have the option, of sort of stepping back. And for many people, that path does go through, college. And that's where I fit into this whole ecosystem. But beyond anything, we just the privileges and the fortune that we have, we really want our kids to be successful. And yet, sorry to keep on going, but the challenge is the immigrant story that so many of you could tell. You came over to this country with $5 in your pocket and a dream, right? Is now getting lost with the immigrant children. The immigrant children are growing up in McMansions in the suburbs and feeling very comfortable. They've never been under any sort of stress, right? And then the parents are wondering, why is there this purpose and meaning gap in their lives? Like, you guys had to fight for tooth and nail for everything that you got, and that's what built you. But now we keep our kids in these cocoons and these bubbles and are so careful about them. So, in any case, these are not simple topics, but yeah, Deen Dunya dilemma, definitely false dichotomy.
Um,
Someone's spamming the chat. Could we really not do that? Let's be a little bit more mature here. Thank you.
our our prophet, peace and blessings be on him, without the wealth of Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, um, would have gone through even more hardship. And, honestly speaking, it's through the wealth of people like Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, that Islam was possible. Full stop. When I was a kid, my mom would tell me a story that may or may not be authentic, but I like it. When Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam is thrown into this fire, there's a little bird who sees this fire and goes to the river and fills up her little beak and puts it onto the fire. And the other birds laugh at it and they say, "You're just a little bird. How are you going to put out the fire?" And the bird says, "Well, my job isn't to put out the fire. My job is to do whatever is in my capability." And my mom would take a look at me and she would say, "Now, my son, if there was an elephant there, an elephant would have to do an elephant's trunk worth of water on the fire, not just a beakful." And then she'd look at me and she'd say, "You, my son, are a elephant."
Hmm.
Now here's the point. Anyone who's gone for Umrah or Hajj When you begin to appreciate our privilege as Muslims in America or Canada, every single one of us actually has a great deal of privilege. And with great power comes great responsibility, right? When I say privilege, our homes, our cars, our money, our jobs, our ability to go to universities. And so when we see fires raging, real fires, real actual fires in the form of income inequality, in the form of racism, in the form of discrimination, in the form of war, in the form of poverty. These are all fires everywhere. And as Muslims in the West, especially, with great power comes great responsibility. We can't put a beak's worth of water. We got to do a full elephant's trunk. So each one of us, I believe, has a responsibility to play our part in making the world a better place. And I think college is a big part of that. Now, Hamza, I want to talk about college for a moment. And this is probably a very basic question, but I want to ask, why does college matter?
Mm,
And are there good reasons to go to college and bad reasons to go to college?
mm. Good questions. Yeah, so why does college matter? I think, it's interesting. We did a webinar with Dr. Ali Atai from Zaytuna, and we did that Mentimeter that we just did. And one of the questions was like this four-part grid is a different type of question. And we were asking parents, like, what is the purpose of college? And on one end of the spectrum, college was to prepare you for your professional life, to make money and learn a trade. And the other one, college, was to find purpose and meaning and find yourself. And there was there's quite a split, within the community. You had people all on purpose and meaning and all on career. Overall, we tilted 60% towards the career thing, as a community. And my big belief about college, and the reason I'm a particular fan of what they call liberal arts colleges, which sometimes have a bad name within our community, is that they actually teach you not what to think, but how to think, right? They teach you how to ask questions, how to solve problems, how to think critically, how to write. These are the skills that are in a lot of ways much more important and much more foundational than some of the, professional skills. Most of the actual professional skills you're going to get on the job through on the job training and so on. You're probably going to get in your master's programs, which are more professionally geared. So I believe college is an amazing training ground to discover purpose and meaning and how to think and and so on. What was the second question?
Well, that was wise, and I really appreciate that, right? Because um, what we I think need to just first set as an intention, right? Because I think so often we do things because other people do it. And this is not one of those things where we should just do because everyone does it. I think it's something that's worth thinking about to say, wait, hold on, why does college matter? Okay. We're not doing it and we're not trying to go to a specific school because everyone else is doing it. We're doing it for two reasons. One is ideally, like Brother Hamza said, to hopefully become the best version of ourselves and figure out like who we are, how we think, and sharpen our mental tool sets and our brain and our capabilities. So that way we're set up for the rest of our life. And then number two, hopefully it helps us achieve our professional career. It's kind of like the idea of give someone a fish, they'll eat for a day, teach them how to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. If our children, inshallah, go to a school where they are taught to learn how to fish, it will help them irrespective of how the world changes, right? And that's the nature of it. There's going to be tremendous change. There is going to be tremendous change. So we have to train our kids to fish and get them environments where they're able to learn how to fish. Okay, so with that in mind, and I do have some like really specific questions about, where faith lands in this. But I want to ask you, um, many parents and kids aim very high, okay? And they say, well, I want to go to Harvard or MIT. And I'm even looking at the questions here. And someone's like, if I go to like a private prep school, is that going to help me get into MIT or Harvard? Or someone's like, can I get into Harvard without interest? Pause for a moment. How important is it to get into Harvard or MIT versus another place? Will people be successful even if they don't get into Harvard or MIT or Berkeley? Is their life going to be over? Or like, how should we think about
You
that?
just slipped Berkeley in there, I see.
I did not
Like
ask about
no,
Berkeley, but
in my part of the world, like yeah. Anyway, sorry. Um, can you be successful if you don't go to Harvard? Yes, of course. I think that was a pretty obvious answer. Can you be successful if you don't go to college? Also, yes. Okay. And that's a big TikTok trend. That's something that people are asking me about increasingly, as especially these days. Is there are there certain colleges that have a certain level of cachet and will open doors for you even when you don't necessarily deserve to have them open? Also, yes. Um, we call telling people that we went to Harvard they call it dropping the H bomb. And I'll be honest, it's not earned, it's not fair, but it has a big impact on people, right? And so there are certain colleges, just a handful of them, you know, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, Oxford, Cambridge, right? There are a small handful of colleges that really, MIT, that really do carry this extra weight. And everyone wants to go to those colleges or other top 20 universities. Do you know, brother? I mean, do you know what percent of students go to colleges in this country with acceptance rates of 50% or lower? So they're considered selective. They admit less than 50% of their students. What percent of college goers?
I don't know.
Venture a guess.
So, what percent of Americans in total go to these selective schools?
Exactly. So of all the people
3%.
applying to college,
3%.
you're exactly right. We didn't prep
Allahu
this.
Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Ask me another question. No, I'm joking.
3%. Most people say 20% or something like that. 3%. So in other words, 97% of the American populace is going to schools with acceptance rates of 50% or more, right? And so that's obviously the vast majority. And most people turn out great, right? Most people are fine. So one of the things, it's actually a book title. I didn't come up with this, but where you go is not who you'll be.
Mm,
Where you go is not who you'll be.
mm.
So as much as like I think when parents see me our marketing and it's pretty effective is, hey, I got into Harvard and I can get your kid in there too. And that's true in some cases. We have done that, alhamdulillah. But you don't have to go to those schools. You want to really what we work to do is to find the right fit school, right?
Right,
The school where your child can be the best version of themselves.
right. And
And where part of fit is financial fit. Someone was asking, "Can I go to Harvard without interest?" To be honest, it absolutely depends on your family's income. If
it's
you're
very
fortunate
expensive.
enough to have low income or even medium income, and you're making 150K or less as a family, then you can go to Harvard for free, right? But if you're in the place where a lot of families are, where they're making a bit more than that, but they're not making enough to spend $100,000 a year, then Harvard's not going to give you much money. And sometimes the only option that people turn to is interest-based loans and things like that. So it's
So,
complicated. Yeah.
So here's what I heard you say. What I heard you say is, look, um, first, with respect to like quote unquote success, God is the one who gives success. Okay. So whether you go to Harvard or don't go to college at all, um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives success. Having said that, there is benefits that can be gained by going to some selective schools. Um, and perhaps there are doors that are open to you, and it may not be the best fit for a whole bunch of reasons. Okay. But look, setting a aspiration to say, hey, especially for the students who are here right now, who are many of whom are in middle school, right? Setting a aspiration to say, look, someday I would love to get into one of these schools so that it can open doors, so that I can hopefully leave a greater legacy. Amazing. Is that kind of
Yeah.
appropriate? All right, so I do want to ask a question on that then. All right. Um, a lot of times people think that in order to apply for college, you do that when you are 17 years old, right? When you're a junior in high school. Is that when families should be thinking about college? Or uh, should they be thinking about it at a different point in time?
Right. Yeah, so I think we have opposite extremes on this question, okay? So one extreme is the baby Einstein, right? The ones who have like the Harvard onesie and like the crib, and they're just working on this stuff insanely early, through preschool and this and that. And then you have the 11th hour last minute procrastinator types, right? Who are writing me on Halloween with the early deadline of November 1st and sending me their essays and asking for feedback and things like that. Right? I can't tell you how many families reach out in the fall of their senior year, October, September, November, December, coming up to those things. And they're like, we really need help with this. That is not, there's very little that I can do. There are people I can point you towards the resources. There are a lot of college counselors out there who work on an hourly basis. They're looking for work. You can get support at that point. But if you actually want to build a competitive profile, you cannot start your junior year. You certainly can't start your senior year. And so the most common question I used to get asked is, okay, when do we start? And so I decided to build the answer to that question into the name of my company. So our company is called Five Before College. One of the reasons it's called Five Before College is because the single best time to start preparing for college is 5 years before college, right? Which is way back in eighth grade, and we have a lot of eighth graders here, right? We have, eighth grade is the end of middle school, and when you're about to head off to college. Obviously, it's somewhat metaphorical. Seventh grade is okay, ninth grade is okay, right? But eighth grade is the special year. It's the end of middle school. The stakes haven't really started, but you're often making big decisions about where you do go to high school. And but we have a lot of elementary parents here. We have a lot of middle school young parents. They can also be doing things. One of the best things I can do, I already mentioned, is reading, right? Getting your kids into a language rich environment, and actually letting them interact with ideas, and talk to them as if, not as if they're adults, but like bring them into your world. Tell them about your what's going on at work, right? Try to have conversations, not at weird times, like when you're doing the dishes, and you can have sort of a conversation with your kids that you can't necessarily have. One of the biggest privileges I have is, as a third party mentor and coach, I'm able to have conversations with kids that their parents can't possibly have, that I can't have with my own children. Right? Because, when you have that sort of uncle energy or whatever, trusted uncle, energy, it, it's just, it's just a different thing. And a lot of times parents will tell me, Brother Hamza, I've been saying the exact same thing that you just told my kid for 15 years. And for some reason, when you said it, now he wants to do it. Now
Mm.
she's ready to do it. And I mean, alhamdulillah, it's a privilege. But yeah.
So what I heard you say is sometimes there's extremes. And by the way, I saw like a family ask, I said, my child's in the first grade. What can I do to get them into Harvard? Okay, so that's probably too early. Um, my advice at that point in time is don't actually worry about Harvard. Worry about just loving your child as much as possibly. And by the way, another thing that I've heard Hamza tell before that I really love is to plant a lot of seeds, meaning try a lot of different experiences to see what your child falls in love with, because helping nurture their interests is huge. Okay. And then the other extreme is waiting until you are a junior in high school and now are like in the last minute, 11th hour trying to figure this out. The best time is the eighth grade. So for my students who are watching, who are in the ninth grade or 10th grade, this is like a yellow sort of light to say, hey, you should probably be perking your ears up and start paying attention. If you're in the sixth grade or fifth grade, know that you've got a little bit of time, okay? But it's coming up. And if you're in the eighth grade, this is like green light. You need to be listening right now, okay? And by the way, Hamza, if you can make me a host, that'd be awesome. Now, I want to ask you, brother Hamza, and I want to ask you while you're paying attention because this is a big question, okay? Um, okay, so say, for example, we are in the eighth grade or ninth grade or 10th grade. What do I do to try to position myself to get into one of these schools? Is it all grades, 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 grades? Prepare for the SATs, ACTs, SATs, ACTs, SATs, ACTs. Is that what it is? Or
Mhm.
is there more to it? What should I be thinking about during that time period?
Yeah, great questions. So there's no getting around the fact that the single most important document when you're applying to college is, in fact, your transcript. And your transcript includes not only your grades and GPA, but also the courses that you took. So if you are aiming for one to be in that 3% of people who go to those highly selective universities, we we can't sugarcoat it. Your grades, good grades are necessary, but they're not sufficient, right? Good grades are table stakes to be in the conversation. The way admissions works at top universities, at Ivy League schools and so on, is everyone applies and they get tens of thousands of applications, and they need to sort it into a reasonable level where they're able to actually give each application, its due. And they use a blunt instrument to do that, which is namely sort of your GPA. At some of these schools, SAT scores are part of it. Um, and at that point, and now AI is a huge part of how they're doing that initial sifting and things like that. So if you don't
And the
have,
way I understand it, Hamza, like when I was at Berkeley and we were like actually reading admission, it's sort of like there's a pile of applications. There's a
Mhm.
red pile, which we're not even going to look at. There's a green pile, which we're going to like sort through and like actually read each one. And then there's like a yellow pile, which is like, if we get time, maybe we'll read it, but we're not
Mhm.
100% sure. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
first,
pretty
it's
much.
like, hey,
I
I need
mean,
to make
right.
sure I get into the green and not the red.
Right, exactly. And so in order to so everything, I don't think I need to tell Muslim parents that grades matter. I don't spend a lot of time focusing on it. That said, there are study techniques. We have a whole Baraka boosted study skills class that we have. I just did a seminar for our Find Your Qibla Squared students, deep work for Muslim teens, which was fantastic. Really help them figure out how to maximize their academics. We have access to tutors and all sorts of things that you need in order to get those grades. But once you've proven that you can do the work, right, then grades and SATs and everything take a huge backseat to all the other stuff. Right? And what is the other stuff? The other stuff are obviously extracurriculars, what you do outside of the school. Um, and especially, do you have one or two things that you've gone unusually deep on? In the college admissions world, we call this your spike, right? And so essentially what they're trying to do is figure out what is your spike or what are your spikes, right? So a lot of people say, Brother Hamza, should I be well-rounded or should I be pointy? And the reality is it's much easier to tell great stories when you're pointy. In other words, you've gone incredibly far in one direction. Like there was a girl who she was obsessed with horseshoe crabs. I don't know if you know what a horseshoe crab is. It's this like ancient crab that looks like it's from the Paleolithic era that they have here. There's something about the hemoglobin in their blood that's very good for disease prevention or something like that. She became a world expert on horseshoe crabs. Her spike was the horseshoe crab. And so when she was being interviewed for college and the interviewer asked her some, she just lit up and was so excited. For other people, it could be sports statistics. It could be literally, it could be anything. It doesn't really matter. But instead of just going pretty far, a little bit about you want to become a world-class expert on like one little thing and you want to be entering competitions and trying to burnish your credentials. So that's one thing is how you spend your free time and do you have a spike? The other thing that colleges are really looking for are soft skills. You know, they're looking for your character, your resilience, your grit, your empathy, your kindness, right? They want to know what kind of a person you're going to be when you come to campus. How are you going to improve campus life for everyone? And this is where I say that Islam becomes our admission superpower, right? Because rather than thinking, what do I have to do? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Just become the best Muslim you can be. If you have the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you have the bravery of the Sahaba, if you have if you have these qualities that we talk about in our khutbahs and in our Sunday schools and things like that, you will have remarkable qualities. You'll be an amazing Muslim, but you'll also be an amazing college candidate. You'll be a magnetic college candidate who are magnetically attracting college offers to yourself. So let's just you always look for what is the one decision I can make that prevents a thousand other decisions from even having to be made. The one decision you can make is to fully enter into Islam. Udkhulu fi Islami, completely enter into the Deen. Right? A lot of people see me and they say, "MashaAllah, brother Hamza, MashaAllah, you are Muslim by choice and we are Muslim by chance." Right? You chose Islam and we were just born as Muslims. That's never sat well with me because first of all, we're all Muslim by choice. Yahdi may yasha wa yudillu may yasha. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides whomsoever He wills. He leads astray whomsoever He wills. So the fact that we're Muslim, born Muslim or become Muslim, it's only the hidayah that comes from Allah. But more importantly than that, we also all need to be Muslim by choice. We need to choose Islam. And there's this remarkable thing that happens right around the age of 15, right? When kids are trying to figure out who they are. Up until that time, they've pretty much been parroting their family's values. Once they hit college and 21, they think they've figured out the whole world, right? But there's this little period of time, and I've chosen to devote my whole life to working with it because that's when my life changed, where
Mhm.
kids are trying to figure out who they are. And so everyone needs to be a Muslim by choice. They need to choose Islam. And what we need to do as families is give them the reason to do that, put them in environments, surround them with mentors, put them around people who are going to help them choose Islam, and recognize that choosing Islam does not mean foregoing your dunya, does not mean being the Molvi in the corner, just isolating yourself from society. You can choose Islam and still go off and walk the halls of power and get these degrees and all of that.
Hamza, I love you sharing this, and I want to talk about our faith. Before I do, I want to go back to this first thing around like, hey, standing out on the application process. And I think being Muslim might be a part of that also. There's a question that someone asked, um, and they said, hey, Brother Hamza, what is a good extracurricular? Or, hey, is there like, my child actually doesn't know what they're interested in. Like they don't actually know what their spike is.
Mhm.
How would you respond to that?
Well, if I may, brother, I mean, this is actually a really good time where if it's okay, I could share some slides because we're at that
Perfect.
that mark, and I think I'll actually be able to answer some of those questions pretty well. So let's get this all set up. Is that looking okay for you?
It sure does.
Okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, those of you who have been in my world for a long time know that this have probably seen this slide before. But the only, brother, I mean, when you look at the slide, what's the first thing that you notice?
The red umbrella.
The red umbrella. Okay, I've never gotten anyone who says, the black umbrella, the third one from the back. It's always the red umbrella, right? And it stands out because not because red is inherently a better color than black, right? But because it's different than all the rest. And so, one of the foundational things I talk about when trying to stand out for college is that different is better than better. Most people try to compete on test scores, on SATs, on the number of APs, on the reasonably common extracurriculars, and things like that. Right? The kids who stand out have the best stories to tell, and they're just completely different than the other kids.
It's the kid who's talking about the horseshoe crab.
Exactly. The horseshoe crab kid. And we have so many examples of
And
what people's horseshoe crabs are.
by the way,
Um
for me personally, when I applied to Berkeley, my red umbrella was actually Noor Kids.
Already.
Well, yeah. I mean, Noor Kids was just a passion project. We had written a few books at that time, and I didn't have the best GMAT score. I mean, granted, alhamdulillah, smart guy, okay. But, I didn't have the best GMAT score, okay, or anything like that. But I talked about how I wanted to, where the mind of a child is where change begins. And I believe that we have the ability to, change the world through, books and through media. And that was my red umbrella,
SubhanAllah.
right?
So So then the second question you asked was, okay, how do we help our kids discover what their passion is, what their thing is? Now, it just so happens that we run a program called Find Your Qibla, which is exactly designed to answer that question. But what is the Qibla? Right? Obviously, we know that the Qibla is the direction we follow, we pray towards. But metaphorically, our Qibla is, our North Star, the thing which orients us. It's the compass that we have when we're in the middle of the ocean, when we're in the middle of and we don't know where we are. We have the Qibla to center us and to get us back on track. So we all have, a Qibla. We have something inside of us that we are uniquely put here, right? The word vocation actually comes from Latin vocare, which means your calling. So historically, people believed that we all have a divine calling. There's a profession and a place for you to fit in this world that is uniquely suited to you. And that's really what your qibla is. And so what we've sort of taken or borrowed a concept from the Japanese called ikigai. Ikigai means your reason for being, and change it to qibla, what you were created for. So I don't want to go too deep into this, but the qibla is the intersection of these four. It's like a Venn diagram on steroids. What you love, what you are good at, what you can be paid for, and what the ummah needs. Right? What you love, the things that you are naturally drawn towards, the things that when you have a weekend free or some free time, you immediately do it. You lose track of time when you're doing those things. What you are good at, the things that people come and ask you for advice about all the time, the things that you've been recognized consistently, what you can be paid for, what problems are you especially good at solving? That's all payment is, right? When you can solve someone's problem, in exchange for solving the problem, people reward you. And typically that reward is in the form of money, right? And the bigger the problem and the more people you can solve, the more money you make. So what problems are you inherently good at solving? And then what the ummah needs, right? This is the thing that's missing from so many of the adults' lives that I speak to, right? When I show them the slide, they say, SubhanAllah, Brother Hamza, like I'm rethinking my life decisions. Like I've been I have a very successful life in the corporate world. I'm middle management and so on. And I have a very comfortable life, but my life lacks meaning. Am I really doing something that the ummah needs? Right. And when we're able to find something that hits all of those pieces, that's when we fully lock in and become alive. It took me 45 years to find my Qibla when I started five before college and I started doing the work that I'm doing now. Other times I had a lot of it, but I didn't quite have all the pieces. MashaAllah, brother. I mean, you clearly found your Qibla when you founded Noor Kids and so on. And this is what we want for our kids, right?
And just FYI, I didn't know Hamza 12 years ago. Okay. I had a mentor. And it's so uncanny. I had a mentor who didn't show me this, but he said, Amin, you have to find the intersection of three things. What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? And where is their need?
Mm,
Find the intersection of those three things. And I said, okay, well, what I'm good at is I'm good at storytelling. What do I enjoy? Well, I enjoy telling stories. And where is their need? Well, there's need to tell stories for Muslim kids.
mm,
And subhanAllah, after I discovered that, it was like, okay, well, now let me start working on it. And it started as a passion project. It was actually like a summer project that, my brother did actually as a school assignment that I helped him with. We created the first version of Noor Kids on like, it was like a PDF or whatever. And the rest was history. So it's interesting as you're talking about this framework, because this is very similar to the framework that I went through to, end up creating Noor Kids.
Let me just give you one example of a student that I'm actually personally coaching right now. His name is Imran. He lives in Chicago. And we just did this exercise together. And mashallah, what he discovered, what he loves is he loves the Quran. Mashallah, he's a hafiz of Quran. He loves sports, right? And he loves teaching and inspiring younger people. He's good at those things too. He's good at teaching. He's good at mentoring. He's alhamdulillah, memorized the Quran and he's good at like coming up with techniques for that. What can he be paid for? He can be paid for, teaching and mentoring and inspiring people. And what the ummah needs, he's discovered that, and I think this will resonate with your audience, that there are a lot of people for whom the pursuit of hifz alongside academics is the biggest challenge that they're having. How do you become a hafiz while simultaneously staying on track academically? And I can say I've had so many conversations with families where this is the exact problem that they're faced with. And the other thing that he sees is that a lot of hufaz become very isolated socially. They're not playing sports. They're not getting out in their communities. They're just so caught up in this massive task of memorizing the entire Quran. So he has created his passion project, which he's just being born in front of our eyes, is called the Hifz verse, right? The Hifz verse, like the multiverse for Hufaz, right? And it's going to consist of an online community of Hufaz from all over the country where they get to hang out and actually share their concerns with other people going through the same journey, bringing guest speakers and so on. It's such a cool idea. And I don't know where he'll take it exactly. He's an incredibly talented individual. But this is the sort of thing that happens when you start having these deep conversations with kids. And then the last thing, because I get asked this a lot, what should we be doing during those 5 years leading up to college? For those of you with kids in elementary school, you're in that plant your roots. Surround them with books, nurture their language, let them be bored, right? And start saving for college, right? There's a reality that if you can start putting aside money and investing money, it makes things, the market will compound over time. If you have the flexibility to do that, that's what you can be doing. Eighth grader, that's the all you can eat buffet. That's what Brother Amin was saying. Experiment broadly, try everything, sign up for tons of different stuff, right? Ninth grade, go back for seconds. Now you've tasted the whole buffet. Which of those pieces were really, really the most delicious to you? 10th grade, find your spike. Start figuring out, what do I really want to go deep in? What is my spike? 11th grade, scale that spike, right? Take it to the nth degree. Completely, go as deep and all in on it as you can. In our world, the spike we call the Saturday morning project. The Saturday morning project is a project that you're so excited to do that you wake up early on a Saturday morning, sacrifice the thing that teenagers care about more than anything, their sleep, because this project has a hold of them, that they want to do it, the Hifz verse or something like that. And then finally execute your vision, right? Put it all together. 12th grade is a lot of people, this is the only thing they focus on. One of the things we do, we have a program called Find Your Qibla Cubed. So for the people that have been part of our ecosystem all along, we help them put together incredible college applications that do open up those doors to the 3% if that's the right fit for them. But
This
ultimately, the only way you get to there is if you do all this stuff ahead of time, right?
this is a massive, massive, massive. I love this diagram so much. I
Oh,
love this
thanks. My
diagram.
wife designed it.
Dude, mashallah. This diagram maybe should be on the wall of every like, middle schooler or high schooler. And guys, I need you to understand. And by the way, I know that like, there's a diversity of folks here, but for the folks who are serious about hopefully, making an impact on the world, realize this, okay? Um, I'm of the mindset that when you are 13 or 14 years old, uh, surrounded with the right community, and the right sort of guidance, you really have the opportunity to change the world. And the reason why I know that is because in Islam, there's people who are young, like Usama and Zayd. May Allah be pleased with both of them, who led armies and who were people who wrote and were scribes for our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So it's a big deal. So pre-eighth grade, just sort of learning a bunch and planting roots. All you can eat buffet, going back for seconds, finding your spike. Again, that spike is that thing where once you've planted a bunch of seeds and you've tried fencing and you've tried, writing and you've tried, volleyball or whatever, it's like the one thing that like you get excited about and you're like, wow, I actually enjoy this because we're all created so differently. Once we find that spike, then it's like, all right, let's invest into that. Okay. And then hopefully turning that into like a Saturday morning project. Hamza, what is a Saturday morning project? Can you give another example of that?
I can. We didn't actually plan this, but Hamza, I guess I anticipated it a little bit. So some examples of Saturday morning projects. In the upper left, we have Zoya. Mashallah, Zoya is an amazing student from Pennsylvania who came to me a few years ago when I was first getting started with Five Before College. And her passion project, what it was, is during the pandemic, her family is from the Indian side of Kashmir. And somehow word got out that Zoya was willing to tutor a student from Kashmir. So there's one girl from Kashmir, and Zoya would tutor her. That girl told her friends, and suddenly there were hundreds of girls from Kashmir who wanted tutoring from this American. She couldn't do it herself, so she started recruiting kids, mostly American kids, non-Muslim American kids from her school to start tutoring these kids in Kashmir. And so eventually she had 25 people in this group. At that point, she realized she was onto something, so she decided to actually figure out how do we actually create a nonprofit. So she went and she filed a 501(c)(3) and became the Hikmah Foundation, right? The Hikmah Foundation. Then they were having one of their board meetings and they're like, we're working with these kids in Kashmir, which is great, but there are all these Afghan refugees right in our backyard. Why don't we do some in-person stuff for them? And so then they started doing all sorts of services for the Afghan refugees. And long story short, when she was applying to college, this was one of the centerpieces of her college application. She got in early to UPenn, which is a fantastic Ivy League school, and mashallah is doing great there. She just finished her sophomore year. And what a testament to why this is a real passion project is it didn't die when she left. It wasn't a project she was just doing for college. It has continued. Her brother is very involved in it, and they have a board, and it's going to continue for a long time. Okay.
Wow. And
In
she
the upper
started that
right,
in high school?
she started that in high school. She started that in high school. In the upper right, we have a picture of my son from a few years ago. He'd probably be embarrassed that I'm showing this. Our little passion project is called Halal Jerky Boys, right? So Halal Jerky Boys is born from a pain point that I have, that when I go to the gas station, there is now not just like a shelf of beef jerky, there is an entire aisle of beef jerky. And as someone who grew up not Muslim and eating everything, I love beef jerky. It's like I don't, brother. I mean, have you eaten a lot of jerky in your day?
Not a lot, not a lot, a little
Okay.
bit. I've
It
heard of
it
it though.
is subhanallah. It's amazing. So, but it's just not available if you only eat halal. You can order it on Amazon. There's ways to get it, but it's not in the gas stations. So we said, let's do something about this. So we created Halal Jerky Boys. Okay? So Halal Jerky Boys essentially consists at this point, we got a big industrial food dehydrator. We go to Restaurant Depot, we get these huge chunks of meat. I cut them up. He's the chef with the marinades and so on. We marinate them. It's a really fun thing to do as a family. The rest of the family's like, starting to design packaging and so on. The problem with this passion project is that we are sort of like drug dealers who get high on their own supply, and we end up eating the jerky ourselves before it gets out to the market. So we haven't really launched much of a business here, but Hamza, he's young yet, and we'll get there, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Um, one or two more examples. So Sensor is a student of mine who, like you, the little humble brag of that YouTube plaque I see behind you, brother Amin.
Mm,
He also had over 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, right? When he was just in ninth grade.
wow.
And that meant he was spending a lot of time online. And when he was online, he was being exposed to all sorts of things that he didn't really want to, knew that as a Muslim he shouldn't be seeing. And so he decided to create something called Censor, which uses AI technology to see bad language and blur it out, see inappropriately dressed people, blur it out. And so essentially it creates a safer online experience for people of faith and people who don't want to see those things. Very technically challenging project. He's been meeting with developers and doing all sorts of things like that. But mashallah, he's really going for it, and he's doing a great job. And then the last one I'd say is Ambibu. Ambibu is there was a girl, her family, her grandmother, I think she's from Ethiopia. Her grandmother speaks Amharic. She did not grow up, she did not know Amharic, so when the grandmother would speak and send messages, she couldn't read it. And so she's like, I gotta learn it. So she went to Duolingo and tried to find Amharic. It didn't exist. The language wasn't there. So what
Wow.
did she do? She went out and taught herself Amharic and then built Duolingo for Amharic called Ambibu, right? And then the last one that's on the top is my daughter. I'm not going to play the video right now, but she has a YouTube channel called Sumi Tyler. I'll find the link and put it in the chat. We're always trying to get her more subscribers, but she's trying to it's just a vlog about like a normal Muslim girl in America just living her life. And she takes, I'm a recurring character called Sumi Dad in her vlogs, but it's just her and her life. And she just happens to be in a hijab, and other than that, she's just talking about everything going on. She's trying to normalize what it is to be a Muslim in America, and
Hmm.
it's tons of fun for her. So those are all examples of passion projects that I hope.
The thing that's so attractive to me about this, okay, and let me be real, um, as a parent, one of the things, and again, I'm just being real again, is sometimes we, especially if our kids are a little bit older, um, we feel like a tendency to need to pull them to do something. All right. Pull them to do something means like they're dragging their feet, begrudging, saying, "Oh, do I need to do this? I'd rather be laying in my bed sleeping until 1 o'clock in the afternoon." Or I would rather just be on my phone or watch YouTube or something like that. Every one of the projects that you mentioned, whether it's the boy who's creating halal jerky or the girl who is doing her own vlog or the other girl who is doing the tutoring for Kashmir, these are the types of projects that it's not a parent commanding their child to do it. It's a child feeling like, oh man, I can't wait to do this on my Saturday. I'm looking forward to my free time where I can build my next jerky and then take it to the masjid and sell it and see what happens, or build my website or create my Instagram, get my next set of customers or get my next subscriber or tutor the next kid. So what's unique is, like, again, who could come up with an idea to say, "Oh, I'm going to create halal jerky"? It's one in a million. It's because he is specifically interested in it, right? Or Sumi Tyler, it's, again, one in a million. Like, who comes up with this, right? So this is to the question, the $1 million question that the parent asks: how do I get my kid actually excited to do this? Well, turns out you actually find what they are naturally excited about, and
Yeah.
you nurture it, and you invest into it, and you give them the hand holding they need, and the support they need to get there. This is so awesome. And by the way, again, I'm just thinking out loud here, guys. Remember when I started this up and I said, we need millionaires and billionaires and people who change the world? Why? Not for millions and billions of dollars, but to literally change the world, right? And when you remember that find your Qibla like diagram that he said that was an intersection of four parts, one of those parts was, what does the Ummah need? You know what? The Ummah does actually need halal jerky at gas stations, right? Seriously. You know what? The Ummah does need a censor app so that way we're blurring out stuff that we shouldn't be seeing on YouTube. You know what? The Ummah does need a young Muslim 12-year-old girl. I don't know how old your daughter is, but like to like normalize what it's like to be Muslim. Could you imagine if every single kid found their own passion project and started working on? Could you imagine what a tsunami of a change that would make for Muslims across the world? And this is just when this young girl's 12, or when this young girl's 15, or this young boy, I don't know how old he is, right? But like, this is when they're 12, 15, and like 11. What happens when this 11-year-old who's creating jerky right now at his kitchen becomes 23 and continues moving in that direction? What happens when this 15-year-old who's creating YouTube vlogs right now keeps at it and now she's 30 years old? Where will she be at that point in time? She will change the world, right? So this, guys, is, when we say five before five, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, appreciate youth before old age, right? Everyone understands the concept of money. If you put money in the bank right now, invest it, 100 years from now, that money's going to be worth a lot. If you have a 13-year-old right now and you decide to help them at 13, 14, 15, figure out what they're interested in, what happens when that 13-year-old now is 35 or 45 or 55? Okay, anyways, I can go on forever. Brother Hamza, please continue. Oh, and there was a
Okay.
transition too, dude. That was wild. Whoa, can we do that again? I haven't seen a transition in a minute. Go back, dude. Go back, go back, go
Uh,
back.
uh,
Just do the trans. Ah! Yo, let's go. You got to do the star one, dude. You got to, like, like the world. Okay, anyways, please go on.
Um, okay. So, this brings us to what we actually do at Five Before College. Instead of doing 15 different programs and pretty well, we decided to do one program at a world-class level. And our one program, our front door is called Find Your Qibla. Find Your Qibla is an amazing experience. The first half is about finding your Qibla, discovering more about who you are. What is your why? Being able to find that thing in the middle of that diagram. And then the second half is about translating that into a real world project, a passion project. And so by the end of Find Your Qibla, the deliverable at the end is an MVP of your passion project. Our final class, it's called the celebration call, sort of like Shark Tank, where the kids are unveiling their things. I know you had an amazing Shark Tank during your Noor Kids Ramadan camp,
Mm.
and so this is sort of the same idea. And these are projects that are deeply connected to who the kids are. Um, so just a little bit of a benefit. You can take a screenshot if you need to, or anything. So it's an 8-week program. It's really designed for students in grades 8 through 11. So if you have a seventh grader, rising eighth grader, that's a good entry point. We have had kids a little bit younger than that if they're really precocious, and we have had kids older. We've even had college kids, but generally speaking, it's grades 8 through 11. The goal, strengthening your identity as a Muslim. One of the coolest things is you're with the cream of the crop of the Muslim Ummah. You have kids from all over the country and especially in the summer all over the world, right? Who are there, who are attracted to what we're putting out there, which is academic and professional excellence combined with Islamic excellence and ihsan, right? And by the end, inshallah, you launch that passion project. In terms of like what does it actually look like? It's a combination of group coaching and one-on-one coaching. So the core curriculum exists in modules that I've been refining over the course of many years, and we have an online platform where you get to watch those. There's an assignment each week that we've curated and made better and better over time. Right. In addition, we have group touch points. So 4 times throughout the week, students have a chance to. We have on Sundays, we have the Sunday anchor session. We have Wednesday power hour. I have my own office hours. And then we have something called FYQ Circle, which one of our other coaches, Sister Morjan, does, which is sort of just a game night. Kids come and they play Jeopardy and Pictionary and Bluecat, and now increasingly that's being led by students themselves, right? So it's just students hanging out with other students who are, and it's lots of fun. And then the heart of the experience, the thing which makes this so premium and so high touch, is the one-on-one coaching. So every Find Your Qibla student is paired with a one-on-one coach. And the coaches that we have are just spectacular. And we're actually in the process of hiring a coach. And so we've just put out a call for people. And subhanAllah, the quality of the applications that I've been getting, I don't know what to do. I want to hire every single one of them. And honestly, it's going to be one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make in my life to narrow it down to one or two. And I'm hopeful that we'll continue to grow and expand because there is an army of people who this is their qibla. Working with your children and trying to help them find their purpose. This is what they've always wanted to do, and they didn't even know this existed, right? Why does this matter for college? Right? Because this is how you create your red umbrella. SAT scores do not create a red umbrella, right? A passion project really does. Um, what are the details? What does your family get? We talked about a lot of that. We try to keep the parents very much in the loop, right? We have weekly progress reports that we send to the parents. We have a parent. One of our coaches, Sister Asumini, has an amazing parenting coaching business of her own, right? She helps parents who maybe feel disconnected from their kids because their parents came from overseas, the kids were born here, and there's this disconnect. She helps that. Gives a workshop for our parents, and so on. Um, in terms of the top questions we get, we mentioned admissions, the time commitment. We say it's about 3 to 5 hours a week, so it's not nothing, but it's not like gonna take over your whole summer or your whole life. If you miss a session, you can't come to everything. Everything is recorded and lives online. The parents are there. They're sort of, as we said, we do some specific parenting programs, but as much as possible, the parents need to be in the passenger seat or even the back seat, and the kids need to be driving. One of the questions that we ask, we will not accept a student into this program unless the student has autonomy in the decision, right? Um, what is the deliverable, the MVP? Our guarantee is if they do the work, if they come to the one-on-ones, if they do everything, they will have an MVP of their passion project by week 8, or else we'll keep working with you for free. Right? And in terms of the cost, it is a significant investment. Right there, we can go over the exact details with you on the call, but it is a significant investment. This is a program that is very high touch, has an amazing team, and the reason we've been able to grow and scale is because people value this and they want it. By the same token, we are completely committed to equity, right? And we do not want cost to be the thing that keeps you from applying. So we have a financial aid process, just like Harvard does, just like all the other schools, where if cost is a concern, if your family is of limited income, then we Alhamdulillah, during Ramadan, we did a scholarship campaign. It was called "We've Never Turned a Child Away. Help Us Keep It That Way." Because for the first 2.5 years, we never turned a child away, but we were funding it out of our own operating expenses. And I'll be honest, it was difficult. There were times where the bank account was getting so low, I wasn't able to pay myself. I was worried about the team. Right. But Alhamdulillah, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has opened up and people have stepped up and donated this. We raised about $35,000 and it showed us that if we do more of this fundraising, we can always do this. So don't let finances be the thing that will scare you, that scares you away. These are just some of our coaches. Brother Patrick, he's very similar to me, another American Muslim convert who went to Harvard. He's our director of admissions. That's who you would often see on the calls. He may be here in the audience. I could maybe bring him on later. Sister Morjan, mashallah, she is our lead success coach. She's been with the company for the longest. Algerian American. She's pre-med. She is just amazing coach. Sister Asumini, I just mentioned. She went to Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, worked at Deloitte. Brother Saddam, he's our entrepreneurship coach. He's a startup founder himself, and he helps our kids, especially in Find Your Qibla Squared, take the sensor, take those passion projects, and scale them, and gives them the real world skills of how to build the websites and get things out there to the world. Um, so if this sounds appealing to you, and Khadija, if you can put this link in the chat, if this sounds appealing to you, then please sc scan the QR code and so on. Okay, it's not going, so I'm gonna get it in the chat. Uh, so that is I just put in the chat the link for Find Your Qibla, the application. So the way it works is there's an application, and it will ask you some questions about your family and so on. You fill that in, and when you fill it in, it will prompt you. It will give you a calendar link to book a call with. Some of them get routed to Brother Patrick, some of them get routed to me, where we get to actually meet you. Meet your family, meet your child. We do it's an hour plus long interview where we get to know every single child, make sure this is a good fit from our side, from your side, and so on. Um, last couple things. This summer we also have a live event coming up. For the first time, we're doing Find Your Qibla live. This is in Boston, July 10th to the 12th. We haven't, this is actually the first time we're really even talking about it publicly. We're going to be launching this later this week. And I think the tickets will sell out very, very quickly. We're bringing in guest scholars, storytellers, and other things. We're going to do Muslim campus tour of Harvard and MIT. We're right at Malcolm X Park. We're right next to Malcolm X's childhood home. It's going to be an amazing event where we actually get to take all that we do online and bring it into a single space. It's going to be super, super exciting. And then, as I mentioned before, the other thing we have, other than Find Your Qibla summer cohort, we have the college essay boot camp. So if you have a junior in college, I mean in high school, then this is the thing that you can do. So I'll just leave this on the screen as well. This is the Muslim College roadmap. If you're not ready to actually apply to Find Your Qibla, your kids are in, you know, fourth grade or whatever, then is something. This is an email course where I've taken all my knowledge of college and tried to condense it into a 7-day email course. And then for those of you who like WhatsApp, if you're one of the many millions of Muslims who are addicted to WhatsApp, this is a WhatsApp group, Muslim Path to College, which you can go into and join and be with hundreds and hundreds of other Muslim families. So I've put all those links in the chat. Khadija, you can keep putting them in again and again, so people can find them. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And Brother Amin, where do you want to go from here? I think we said 90
Well,
minutes. We're actually
we are a
at
little bit
90
at
minutes.
time, and I do want to respect everyone's time. Also, I've got kids that I have to take care of because I've got little ones. But Hamza, there's just a couple of really quick questions, and then I want to share something. So, in Find Your Qibla, how many kids total are in that program?
Yeah, so roughly this summer, the cohort we're aiming for is about 50.
Okay. And that's really important to know. Um, for moms and dads who are watching right now and for kids who are watching right now, um, I need you to hear me say that I really strongly believe in the work that Hamza is doing. Um, I've had the opportunity to see Hamza's work transform over the last few years. And what I can tell you is that it is done with excellence. He practices what he preaches, and the proof is in the pudding. When I say the proof is in the pudding, the students who've gone through these programs have actually benefited from it. Now, here's the thing. Um, for every parent, a question comes to say, what am I going to invest in? Um, I believe that if you have a child who's in the eighth or ninth or 10th grade and you're watching right now and you are seriously thinking about finding your spike, creating this passion project that can hopefully put your child on this trajectory, not only to get into a good school, but frankly, to build the skills necessary to hopefully, move in the right direction. How much is that actually worth? That's that's a question that you don't have to answer, but it's something that I'd encourage you to think about. Um, I believe that the mind of a child is where change begins, and that's where like the role of Noor Kids comes in. Um, I look at the work that Hamza is doing with a significant level of um, optimism and a little bit of jealousy, not in a way that is envious, but rather in a way that is competing for good. I truly can't think of somebody who is doing more remarkable long-term impact for a Muslim community than the work that Five Before College is doing today and hopefully where it's going. So as time progresses, please do take a look at the work that Hamza is doing. Um, it's not for everybody. If you are, someone who's young, if you're someone who's not serious, if you're someone who's not shooting for the stars, his program is not for you. Um, Transparently, it's not. But if you are a student who does have high aspirations, if you are mature, if you do have high expectations of yourself, if you do have supportive family, right? This is a program that you should probably look into. Um, and and I will say, like, with Noor Kids, we serve like subhanallah like 15,000 families every month, right? And so it's always really, really difficult for me when I hear folks who like, Hamza's like they're serving 50, okay? And that's tough. And I wish there could be more, right? But the truth is the reason why they're only able to take care of 50 students over summer is because it is literally so high touch. Okay, it's like how do you scale that, right? It's like it
Well,
requires.
yeah, it's a good point. Like the based on the applications that we've gotten, right, from these mentors, I'm confident we can serve more than 50, right? It's just that the Muslim community needs to catch up and be willing to invest in this sort of thing, right? And because
Yeah.
once they are like, alhamdulillah, I think we're laying the groundwork to like, I want to change the world myself, you know. I don't want to I want our kids to do it too, but like, you know, what could make a bigger difference than helping our kids, you know, find themselves, find their Qibla, and then go off, get into these you know, great schools, and then change the world. Like, what could be more than that? And there's clearly, you know, the mission is resonating. We've gone from a an idea in my head to a 10-person team in 2.5 years, right? And alhamdulillah, you know, I think we're at that sort of hockey stick moment of growth.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, you know, 50 this summer, but who knows where we go from here. But I agree, it is very high touch. 15,000, I think I have a lot to learn from you, and you know, alhamdulillah.
No, and I've got a lot to learn from you too, dude, because you know, your team is as big as ours. So we've got a lot that we need to learn too. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when we started today's program, um, my primary goal was to share with families in our community practical pieces of advice around how to make sure that your children are able to, inshallah, achieve this form of success, which is college. Okay. So we talked about, hey, look, does college matter? We talked about, hey, these top tier schools, like, do they matter? We talked about dunya versus deen. We talked about what is required to actually stand out in that admissions process. And what it sort of ended on was this idea of this. We said, hey, if you are able to find your spike, to build that spike and nurture it and turn it into a project that hopefully is one that you get personally invested in, that can become your red umbrella. And that can help you, inshallah, stand out during the application process. But beyond that, frankly, that red umbrella is going to help you put yourself on a trajectory to, hopefully be successful, which is what all these parents have said that they want. And success meaning Deen and Dunya. For those who didn't get the, link, the website is fivebeforecollege.com. And also, if you're part of this webinar, you're now on Brother Hamzah's email list too. And the good news is Brother Hamzah has amazing emails that I love reading, and I think you're gonna love reading them too. So you'll be able to stay connected with
And
him.
if anyone still has questions, this is our WhatsApp business number. That now, I used to only give my personal number and I would get spammed and it was hard to keep up. But now, Hamza, my team is also on this business number, so we're able to answer questions more quickly and effectively. So that's our WhatsApp number, and then if you have any email other questions, that's the contact.
I
Um,
love it. And Brother Hamza is just one email away. I pray, Hamza, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to put barakah in your efforts and that
Amen.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you success in this world and the hereafter. And I hope
Amen.
that everyone who watched was able to take at least one piece of information with them today. Um, I've said it once, twice, and I'm going to say it again, guys. Um, we are living through a very special moment in time. I am dramatic. That's the nature of who I am. Okay, so when I say that, it sounds dramatic. Every moment in time is a special moment in time. But when you look at where the world is, when you look at the level of tragedy within the Muslim community, when you look at the amount of change that's happening economically and throughout technology across the world, this is truly a remarkable moment. And so this is a moment when we need to rise to the occasion. As Muslims in the West, we can't just put a bird's beak worth of water on this fire. We have to put an entire elephant's trunk worth of it. Okay, with great power comes great responsibility. Every single one of us who's been born and raised here, We have tremendous privilege. And so if every single one of us finds our spike, if every single one of us finds that opportunity to find the intersection of what we're good at and what we can get paid for and where we can serve and, you know, where we can hopefully make tremendous impact, like think about the massive tsunami of good that could come with it. And so, inshallah, it starts this summer, literally starts this summer. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Brother Hamzah,
Yeah.
thank you
And
for
I apologize. There's some amazing questions in the chat. I'm hoping Zoom will be able to put them together. We can use some AI to like figure out the big ones. We do send a recap email. We'll try to capture them. I'm sorry that our conversation and everything went so long that we didn't get to answer every individual question. I am going to be there. Our whole team's going to be there at ICNA. We'll have a nice booth there, so we'd love to see people um, uh, at, uh, at ICNA. I'm going to be in the DMV. I'm going to be speaking at Adams and various other masjids in the Maryland, Virginia area next week. And then, like I said, we have that live event in Boston coming up. Like, there's a lot of opportunities. But find your Qibla is is the most biggest one, inshallah. And yeah, Jazakallah khair, brother Amin. And I hope that my audience who doesn't know about Noor Kids somehow, if you've been living under a rock for all these years, Noor Kids is an incredible organization. I look up to you so much, brother Amin. I've learned so much from your example, in so many different ways. And I feel so blessed to have you as a mentor, as a friend, as a fellow deanpreneur. It means the world to me, and may Allah continue to bless you, your family, and all of the kids that inshallah these two organizations are helping, and most importantly, all these parents who are in the audience. You guys are the champions. The mothers who show up for their kids day after day after day. Like you guys are the ones who make it all happen. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us all and keep us all ala sirat al-mustaqim and inshallah barakallah fikum. Assalamu alaikum
Ameen,
wa
inshallah. Thank you so much, Brother Hamzah. All right, everyone. Have a good night. Assalamu alaikum.
rahmatullah.
All right, Brother Hamzah, I do have to boogie, man.
Yep. It was awesome as always. Allah
Alhamdulillah.
reward you
Thank you so
inshallah.
much. Thank you
Assalamu
so
alaikum
much,
wa
Brother
rahmatullah.
Hamzah. All right, assalamu alaikum.